Hi, and I'm Mike Zima, and I'm an SEO expert, and I'm an expat based in Mallorca, Spain. Today I'm going to be talking about what do SEO and SEM agencies really do, and where's your money going? This is going to be interesting, so stay tuned. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the history. The history is kind of simple, and we like to romanticize it and put it up on the pedestal, but the reality is the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, this madman era, we were just all infatuated with it. If you've met some of these executives from that era, some of them are pretty well preserved and they've managed to get this far. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's true, they did drink that much, they did smoke that much, and they did have that many clients. So I'm going to talk a little bit about client services and what's changed since then and now, and I'm going to go into some of the specifics next. So what is a normal digital agency? The digital kind, not the traditional client services agency, such as these big four corporations. These big four corporations have a portfolio of hundreds and hundreds of agencies that are designed to take your money, so their bottom line is paying off their shareholders. Because you have to think about it, they're a publicly traded company, traded on multiple stock exchanges all around the world. So their incentive is they have a business model, they take money, they feed it into their machine, and they pump out results and they pump out dividends for their investors. That's essentially how it works, and this is true with any kind of industry. Since the 50s and 60s, even earlier than that, there's been a lot of consolidation. So you have these big companies, executives at the top that have portfolios of all these agencies, and the bar to work with them is really high because you have to pay for media. Media is how these agencies operate. They have the best negotiated prices for TV, they have the best negotiated prices for radio, if anyone listens to it, and they also have some of the best inventory to put out billboards and everything. They have their whole distribution network, and what their job is to convince you that their marketing ideas are great. Studies are showing that TV is less and less effective because people are looking on their phones. They don't care about the commercials. The commercials are only this 5-minute spot during the Super Bowl that people really care about. So this is an interesting development in the industry, and it's also interesting to know where your money goes. So if I'm a large agency that is publicly traded and all of a sudden I secured Coca-Cola, I'm going to hire 100 people to work on that account because we have to be busy. Right? If you want to keep up the bottom line, you want to keep buying the media, you want to keep making a profit on your media, you got to keep busy. So that's how these big agencies operate. Some of them are transitioning more into digital. Some of these big four have bought up boutique agencies that specialize in digital. So you have to make sure that if you're working with one of these agencies, you have to realize that, a part of their responsibility is to their shareholders, and another part of their responsibility is to the clients, and then finally, they're responsible for their employees. So you can see that the employees are really low on the happiness meter here for this organization. So what is a normal digital agency that's doing? Well, I'll give you an example of what we do, and it's a comparison of other agencies and other modern digital agencies that I've worked at, and it's very consistent. And it's also consistently true through other client services. We're all dealing with clients, we're all dealing with services, we're all dealing with accounting and payroll. This is all the same for every kind of business. But what's true for an SEO and SEM agency, there's two parts, and I'll start with SEO first. With SEO, it's a marketing activity. There is a certain amount of fixed marketing activities that an SEO agency has to generate for a business. So you have to think about, first of all, automation. Automation has changed the way we do business in a lot of different industries, and that's not automation to where I can go, hey SIRI, do my work. No, that doesn't happen yet. Automation is essentially moving the records and information and data from point A to point B, and that expedites and that speeds up a lot of the process and the work that we do, and it actually makes us lift more because we have technology that's helping us. So every day agencies are trying to apply more technology, more data, more information so we can compound and have a bigger impact. You're not just paying for the labor, you're not just paying for the services, you're actually paying for the expertise and also the wealth of information that we're accruing over time, also the wealth of experience that we have in different industries, and that's going to compound. So you have to think about this experience and data component, because that's constantly appreciating. The longer the agency's in business, the more historical knowledge they have to apply to their clients, thus their clients are going to become more successful. So this automation piece is key, and I think automation in the next 5 years is really going to develop the client communication side of things, because that is the biggest thorn in the client services business in any industry. Is communication causes a lot of friction. I can talk to you about the work that I'm going to do, but that's not producing any results. That's not moving the needle forward. That's just wasting time that the client and the partner does not get back. You do not recover any time that you put in unless it's working. So you have to adopt. If you're getting on a phone call, you better be working or you're wasting your time. There's a bar of entry here, because these big four agencies, they're charging a lot of money because they're charging a premium for communication. So that's where a lot of the money is going in these client service business. So I talked about automation and how this speeds up a lot of the work, how it speeds up the process of the data. So on the day-to-day, when we're working in SEO, we're doing constant daily monitoring. We're looking at the reports. With SEO, we don't see any drastic spikes like this. None of that happens. It's very cool waves. It's like a nice breezy day in Majorca. It's very, very cool. So we can monitor that, we monitor the keywords, and we monitor the results. We also set up the alerts. So if there's something that moves to page 1, we know that keyword before you know that, and we report on it. So a lot of this back-end mechanics and the setup, this is all regulated through software and reporting that's keeping track of the back end. So while the back end is running, the data is available, you can look into it and track the results on a daily basis. So SEO isn't a sort of marketing activity that is going to just every single day you just hit it, and you're going to get the results. It's not like sales where you're going door to door, knocking, and you can measure those results. So the reporting part of it, the monitoring part of it, that's all happens over time, and we want to keep eyeballs on that every day, and we also want to keep eyeballs on that every month, so we have a good month-over-month comparison. Now, the other activities, well, SEO, really what it is, it's branding. We're branding people inside of search engines. So if you're searching for a certain keyword, let's say you're looking for athletic tennis shorts, and we're branding you so you're more distinguished against your competitors in search results. Sometimes you see those ugly search results that are broken off. Sometimes Google Frankensteins it together, and there's little control over that because the machine thinks this version is going to help convert a customer that are looking for some sort of fancy tennis shorts. So that's one of the activities there. Then the recurring activity is the page optimizations, the keyword research, and interpreting the data. That's when we physically go in at a frequency of about 2 weeks. We interpret the data. In about 2 weeks, we'll take that data, extrapolate it, and apply it into a plan, which we put into an Excel. And these are the page optimizations. And with those page optimizations, we're going to put them into your site, and that's the recurring process. So that's the main recurring component, because if you're ranking for a keyword we target, Google's telling us you're ranking for this keyword, and it's slightly different, but a better opportunity because Google's telling us it's a better opportunity. Then we apply that opportunity to your website here, and that's what's going to make the impact. So it's this constant improvement. We're constantly improving your website. You can think about it like taking your website to the gym. We're hitting the gym. We're going to see those results over time. It takes time to appreciate. So that's the key component of SEO. Other components to SEO, in lieu of the branding argument that I brought up, is content. We're creating blog posts, and these blog posts, you've all seen the clickbait, you've all seen the BuzzFeed. They have to be engaging and broad, so you want to have something interesting that people want to read. You have to also have something interesting based off of industry reports, and an industry report would be, what are your competitors writing about? Okay, this gives us some ideas. We don't want to imitate what your competitors are doing because we need to have some sort of benchmarks. Benchmarks are engagement. If your competitors are creating good content, we can look at that content, we can see what's engaging and sharing on social, so we can take that, extrapolate it, come up with 3 or 4 buckets for content ideas, and then we can start executing on it and beat them at their own game. So that's the big piece of SEO. It used to be about milling out so much content. Now it's about talking to your executives, trying to come up with a good piece of content and writing that for your website so your stakeholders could be engaged. Then the most difficult one, building backlinks. Building backlinks is essentially, it's a handshake. I'm looking at different websites all over the internet every day. My team is too, and we're building relationships with these websites. And this is how you can leverage relationships to link back to your site, to feature your site. All very important, because as you're earning links, you're earning votes for your site, and this is very sustainable because it's going to help appreciate your SEO. It's going to help cross-pollinate another website's audience with your audience and help you grow and proliferate that audience. And if you have marketing automation set up in the background, collecting email addresses, having people opt into social, having people download, that's all great, because SEO, we're the first step. We're the door, we put up the billboard, and we get customers to step in to your store. What happens on your website is not our responsibility. You're going into conversion optimization, you're going into website management, you're going into sales. This is all the back end that has to happen. You know, we're the 10 to 20% of your marketing, and then the next 20 to 80% of your marketing is going to involve selling your customers and making sure that they're sustainable. And those are all the components on SEO. There's a certain cadence to it, there's a certain frequency to it, and it happens over time. So what about pay-per-click? How does pay-per-click go? It's like, what happens there? Well, I'll tell you on pay-per-click, it's still automation. We're getting this data from Google, and one of the moving variables is how much you spend. The more you spend, the more data we can collect, and this is true of any agency. The more of that data we have, we can take that, apply it into the campaign, interpret the results, ask you how good the results are the quality of the leads good, and we take that and we refine it, and it's a continuous improvement. And with paid, it's very important to have daily monitoring, because sometimes if you're not looking, all of a sudden the budget goes bloop, because things happen and it may have not been set up correctly, or maybe it was uploaded automatically and the budget was off. Not saying it can happen, but that's why we have your eyes on your budget, because it's in our best interest. And the cadence with that, it's about once a week, we're looking at the results and we're testing and split testing between ads, creative, the text that's going underneath the ad, also the keywords or the audiences that we're targeting, and we're evaluating it. The thing that's really critical and most people don't have the patience for with paid is you have to wait. I set up this campaign, these are the goals, these are what we're hitting, and it has to go for at least 2 weeks, 1, 2, 3 weeks, for us to extrapolate what are those meaningful results to apply it into the next leg of the campaign. It's not something you set up and you just look at your watch and you come back in 3 weeks. No. That's not true. We're constantly monitoring it and applying it into the next version of the campaign. So with paid, it's a continuous improvement. With paid, you want to make sure we have the best set of creative and the best set of targeting, so we can couple that together to get you the best kind of results. And then finally with paid, which is great, when you have tracking set up, that tracking is going to send the data back to Google Analytics or to your source, such as a CRM. Let's say you're tracking your customers or your sales dashboard. All that information can be funneled back, and you can start understanding how much money is going out the door and how much money is bringing into the door. And if you have a positive ROI, 2, 3, 5, 10 times ROI, you have to pump up your budget. This is just a math equation. This is the cost of doing business, and the results are there. Net taxes, net expenses, it's still very profitable once you figure that out. So you have to make that decision. Once your agency gives you that call that you have this high ROI, you need to pump it up, because this is a moment in time, and if you miss this moment in time, you may close less leads. You may be getting leads from other places. You may be getting poor quality leads. You may already be getting good quality leads from ad. There's just so many variables. You have to test it, and you have to double down at what's working. And that's really important with an agency. If an agency is telling you to spend all of your money on radio ads, don't Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't waste your money. There's companies out there that can play your ads. They're just looking about selling their inventory and making a profit. So you have to make sure you're focused on digital. You have to make sure you have tracking set up. You have to make sure you have a website set up to capture these leads and capture the information. And you also have to make sure your site is following the best practices, because search engines, Facebook, Bing, all of these major ad networks, they depend on the quality of your site, how fast your site is loading, and also how quickly your site is converting those people. Because as soon as somebody converts on your website, that goes back into their machine, and they know that you're generating results, you're producing results, and they're going to factor that into their big math equation when they're trying to bring people to your site. So the more relevant you are, the more conversions you're getting, that's going to compound you in a way on these networks that's going to give you more results. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out what this coefficient is, what this ROI is, return on ad spend. Whatever the KPI is, you have to know what you're going in with. You have to know what you're going in with your budget, and that way you can understand. So that's the big distinction between modern agencies. They focus more on the established media. They already have the business. These big brands haven't transformed completely into digital. It's going to happen. And this moment in time, everything's going to appreciate and get more expensive. So let me know if you have any questions about what happens in a digital agency. I know I touched on a couple of topics, but I'll be happy to go in depth. And these are some of the things that have been on the top of my mind lately, and how we're positioning ourselves to be different, and how other digital agencies are positioning themselves to be different. So when you get a moment, make sure you subscribe here. I still can't find it. I look every time. I even look on YouTube. I can't find it. So make sure you can subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.